If you decided to build a new system or to upgrade your current one in the last few months, you probably didn't have a good time. Products like cheap CPUs, RAM, beefy power supplies, and mid to high range graphics cards were all listed as out of stock, or the even more demoralizing contact for availability for far too long. And as if that wasn't bad enough, many retailers upped their prices on many of their products in response. The reason for this, as we're all probably keenly aware by now, is largely due to GPU cryptocurrency mining. Mining had become the new hip and cool thing to do, and during the peak of the mining bubble, it was ridiculously profitable. Gamers, PC enthusiasts, and even complete novices caught the fever and started mining. The prospect of putting your hardware to work during the times you're not using it anyway and earning free money for its efforts along the way for many was just too good of an opportunity to pass up. Now, I'm sure none of that made the sting of not being able to get your hands on the GPU that you've been eyeing any less annoying, but it becomes a little harder to blame miners when you look at the profit margins. Everyone could use some extra cash flow. It's just unfortunate that there weren't enough graphics cards to go around. But luckily for gamers, the mining craze has settled down a lot recently, due in part to at least an increase in mining difficulty and an even bigger decrease in profits. This means that stock has slowly started trickling back into your favorite online retailers and prices have started to normalize. Yay for gamers, and boo for miners, I suppose. But while mining right now isn't even close to being as profitable as it was just a few months ago, there's still a lot of money to be made if you do it right and understand all of the risks involved so you can reduce them wherever possible. A major risk miners have to face, and one that undoubtedly scares a lot of people off of the idea, is hardware failure. It's a very real concern considering most GPUs weren't designed to be pushed to their limits 24/7 or to run at high temperatures for weeks on end, and as we know, high temps and electronic components don't mix. Fortunately, GPU and VRM cooling solutions have improved tremendously over the years, so much so that you're more likely to burn out your card's fans while mining than you are burning out the card itself. Still, burnt out fans are a major bummer and a massive chore to replace, but as XFX illustrates, it doesn't have to be, but I'll get to that in just a minute. The XFX RX 580 GTR-S Black Edition 8GB card, wow that is a mouthful, is an absolute beast of a card that's basically the fastest RX 580 on the market, with impressive core and memory overclock straight out of the box. Its true clock of 1430 MHz is already more than 60 MHz faster than AMD's reference clock speed, and XFX claims you can push it even further to about 1450 MHz, which puts it above what any of the other vendors are shipping their 580s at. Memory speeds can also be boosted by another 100 MHz or so thanks to the card's OC Plus rating. The rest of the card's specs are more or less identical to other RX 580 models, meaning you're getting the same 2304 stream processors and 256-bit memory interface. As for outputs, the card features 3 display ports, 1 DVI, and 1 HDMI connector. Those specs alone should be enough to excite gamers and miners alike, but one of the card's main selling points will be doubly as exciting to miners. This particular RX 580 features XFX's patented hard swappable fan design, which makes replacing a faulty or dead fan a breeze. Get it? Breeze? Because fans and wind and stuff? Anyway, it gets even cooler since you're also able to swap out your current fans for even better ones, mitigating the impact heavy use has on the card's lifetime. Or if you're feeling super fancy, you can also swap them out for ones equipped with different colored LEDs. That useful little innovation aside, the XFX RX 580 mines much like you'd expect from an RX 580. Because of its improved memory, it should perform a little worse than the RX 480 when both are rocking stock settings. But let's not forget that the XFX RX 580 Black Edition doesn't run at stock. Its factory overclocked core and memory speeds make it a formidable opponent for the RX 480, matching or outright outperforming it when it comes to raw hash rate. It even manages all of that while staying relatively cool, even after taking its high power consumption of about 185 watts into account. After a full day or so of mining, thermals were more than manageable at a rock solid 72 degrees Celsius, with max temps topping out at around 80 degrees. Those temps could be even further reduced for mining by setting a custom fan curve, as at around 75 degrees, the fans were only running at 70% utilization. At 100% utilization, the fans had little trouble keeping the card to under the 70-degree mark. Obviously, running the fans at 100% isn't the quietest affair, but they don't get as loud as you might expect. Other lower clocked RX 580s I've played around with are often annoyingly loud, whereas the XFX model is more comparable to a hairdryer than a hurricane. And it's not just the fans that run quieter than usual either. The card also features ultra-low noise XL inductors, which basically means the buzzing noise that you can often hear when your ear's right next to the GPU will be a lot less buzzy. So if you're the type of person who likes to keep noise levels to sub-fighter jet levels, you'll be in for a treat. But yeah, the XFX RX 580 is an exceptional card for mining, but as I mentioned earlier, it should also perform great in games. The card absolutely dominates at 1080p and ultra settings, with frames well above 60 in most of the games that I tested. Out of all of the benchmark titles, Metro Last Light and Deus Ex Mankind Divided were the only ones that had any real trouble reaching a solid 60 FPS, but considering almost every graphical option was maxed out, including anti-aliasing for some, that's not too surprising. If you're looking at getting the XFX RX 580 purely for gaming, you definitely won't be disappointed. You might be disappointed, however, if you're looking for a card that's going to light up the inside of your case. The all-black shroud has nary an RGB LED anywhere. The backplate, while stylish, is similarly unilluminated. The only photon emission you'll find here is on the fans and side XFX logo, but those are only a single color. My edition happened to be red, but there are also blue and white flavors out there, including a limited run of America Patriot Edition with red, white, and blue LEDs. The single color isn't necessarily a mark against the card directly, but much like MSI's Gaming X cards, it's a GPU that will only work with certain color schemed builds. My biggest issue with the LEDs isn't that they're static in color, but rather that there's no apparent method for disabling them short of physically disconnecting a cable on the PCB, which also happens to disable the fans. While many may consider 2017 to be the year of RGB, I actually think that it's more about the choices that RGB provides gamers to customize how they want their rig to look. Unfortunately, XFX gives you no choice with your LEDs to have them on or off, and the only hope to have them a different color is to do a hardware replacement on the fans. Another gripe I had with the XFX RX 580 was overclocking. I'm sure I'm not the only one who likes to squeeze as much performance as possible out of my GPUs, especially if they'll be used for mining, and in that regard, the card falls a little short. It's not that it can't be pushed any farther, it's just that XFX did such a great job of doing it in the factory that the gains made from further overclocking are very minimal. I don't actually believe this to be a bad thing because it'll save a lot of people some setup time, but I enjoy overclocking, and how dare you take that away from me, XFX? Anyway, as I explained earlier, there are some gains to be made, however minimal, but unfortunately I had so much trouble getting stable OCs that I ultimately gave up on the entire endeavor. This might not be the case for a lot of you, and you might have more success with different overclocking utilities and greater luck in the silicon lottery, but it hardly seems worth the time and effort on my end to try to fight the Polaris GPU to yield a few more megahertz. But thankfully XFX already includes a wicked high overclock on the card from the factory. So, the XFX RX 580 GTR-S Black Edition 8GB card, say that as fast as you can, is a fantastic card that handedly outperforms most other RX 580s in gaming and mining, and thanks to its easily swappable fans, it's one of the most practical cards for the latter that I've ever seen. XFX didn't jam this card with a bunch of features that are seldom used by gamers like a few other manufacturers, and they didn't try to reinvent the wheel with their aesthetic design, but what they did do was offer essentially the fastest retail RX 580 on the market with one simple tweak that helps alleviate common points of failure on intensely used GPUs. Regarding price points, XFX has a pretty good place in the market. If you're buying on pure speed alone, it's hard to find a reason to spend money on the other 580s that are on the market. Its $390 price point in the US puts it slightly above lesser performing flagship GPUs from other vendors and cheaper than some of the top price cards. In South Africa, its price point amongst RX 580s is fantastic. Coming in at 5,799 Rand, its exceptional clock speeds make it the best value 580 you can buy right now. You can pick up its little brother, the GTS XXX Edition for 300 Rand less, but you'll be shaving 50 to 70 MHz off the core clock for that cost cut. However, while the GTR-S Black Edition is exceptionally priced amongst its peers, RX 580s right now and most AMD GPUs are still suffering an existential crisis regarding their pricing structure. They're significantly overpriced. 25 to 30% generally speaking compared to other gaming cards in their class, a la the GTX 1060. That makes them a really hard recommendation for buying as a gaming GPU at this point, which is why we chose to focus this review more on its mining potential than its gaming aspects, because AMD cards as a whole are in a rough place for gamers. Neither the general consumer versions, RX 580s and below, and their higher end counterparts, RX Vega, are priced in a way that makes them good cost to performance compared to the green team. Their strength right now lies in their ability to be mining more effectively and efficiently than Pascal, and their higher prices hold true to the old adage of you have to spend money to make money. Which, speaking of spending money, Wootware. Whether you're trying to put together a new blisteringly mega hash mining rig or you want to construct a legitimate gaming powerhouse, Wootware has you covered. With their great selection, exceptional pricing, and continuously updated product range, not to mention their fantastic customer service, Wootware has everything you need in order to woot up your next system. So if you're in South Africa, head on over to wootware.co.za to check them out. The link will be in the video description. Big thanks to Wootware, by the way, for sponsoring the XFX RX 580 Black Edition for review. Couldn't have done it without them. Which also, let me get candid with you all for a moment. I couldn't be doing this channel without you. Your likes, dislikes, comments, whatever else you have done kept this channel going, especially during the times where it's difficult to get videos out in between my other work, family life, and whatever else happens to pop up. So I just wanted to take this moment to say thank you, and also to let you know there's going to be a few improvements coming along soon to the channel that will hopefully help us out and take us to the next step of growing the channel together. I got a lot of things cooking behind the scenes, and while I'm not ready to launch and announce it all just yet, the most exciting times are still yet ahead of us, and I'm glad that you have all chosen to be a part of this journey. Anyways, I'm going to wrap this video up there. Be sure to hit that like button down below if you enjoyed this review. Hit that subscribe button to stay up to date on all of our tech-related content. I am Brett with the UF Disciple channel. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video.